All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Campbell, Senior Content Manager with the Food Institute, and welcome to our webinar, Driving Success in Marketing and Design, How Food and Beverage Companies Are Winning in 2024. To start, I'd like to thank the sponsors of today's webinar, starting with 𝗟𝗲𝘁. 𝗟𝗲𝘁 is a full-service agency built for natural, wellness, and better-for-you brands. With offices in Chicago and Boulder, they're always at the ready to make an impact for growing brands through digital media and classic good thinking. Their methods have launched and fueled companies like Simple Mills and Kite Hill and continue to propel wellness world mainstays and newcomers to boot. If you're interested in learning more about 𝗟𝗲𝘁's complete services, visit their website at 𝗟𝗏𝘁.agency or email charlie@𝗟𝗏.agency. I'd also like to thank 𝗟𝗏 for their sponsorship of today's webinar. 𝗟𝗏 is an e-commerce agency founded in 2006. They are a distributed team with team members across the world, and they partner with the world's most loved brands to scale and optimize their businesses through strategy, design, development, and retention marketing. They are also Shopify Plus agency partners, and past and current clients include Black & Decker, L'Oreal Paris, Sakara, Kind Snacks, Scott's Miracle-Gro, Central Garden and Pet, and Once Upon a Farm. And for more information, please visit www.barrelny.com. Now let's take care of a little housekeeping. A recording of this webinar will be shared with all registrants and attendees. Please allow a few days for processing and keep an eye on your inbox for that email. And finally, time permitting, we will be hosting a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please feel free to add your questions in the Q&A tab on the side of your screen. Now I'll hand it over to Food Institute CEO Brian 𝗂𝗽 to introduce today's guests. So over to you, Brian.
Thanks, Chris, and super excited to have this webinar today. We have two rock stars in the marketing and the design world. So first off, I'd like to introduce Kate Widener. Kate is the co-founder and chief strategy officer of independent full-service marketing agency 𝗟𝗏𝘁. There she leads a team helping natural wellness and better-for-you brands drive awareness and sales. A strategist and classically trained journalist with a television and video production background, which I definitely appreciate being a media company. Kate has put her media expertise to good use, teaching brands like Simple Mills, Vital Proteins, and Good Culture to think like publishers. We also welcome 𝗟𝗏𝘁 𝗟𝗏𝘁. 𝗟𝗏𝘁 is a partner and chief experience officer at Beverage, an agency that specializes in collaborating CPG brands to design, build, and optimize website experiences that not only deepen customer relationships, but accelerate sales across channels. For the last 10 years, 𝗟𝗏𝘁 has helped shape Beveraj's design philosophy, company culture, and processes while continually seeking innovative ways to collaborate with clients and help them succeed. And with that out of the way, we'll hand it over to Kate to get today's presentation started. Take it away, Kate.
All right, team. Super excited to be with everybody today. I have a couple of great lessons that we're going to share that can apply to any brand, big or small. So no matter the size of your brand, these takeaways will work for anyone, because I know a lot of the questions that we normally get are about budget and what you need. And that can really differ for everyone. So we'll tell you a little bit about 𝗟𝗏𝘁 today, just to give you a little bit of credibility, why you might want to listen to us today and take some of our advice. So our agency was founded just about 8 years ago. We have offices here in Chicago, where I saw a couple people are calling in from today, and also in Boulder, in the kind of epicenter of the natural and wellness world. And that's really where 𝗟𝗏𝘁 has honed our niche and our expertise. We're really known for being thoughtful strategists every step of the way with our partners. We do work with them very closely, especially on digital media, because we're often working with growing brands that really want to emphasize and put a lot of their dollars and attention into those channels. But one thing that 𝗟𝗏𝘁 is really focused on that you'll hear about today is audience development, because it really all starts there. And another thing we're really known for is not being some big, slow agency that moves like a ship that is impossible to pivot, but really pivot very quickly based on shifting company goals, which on the brand side, I know you all know has been a more common occurrence than ever over the past couple of years. We are also known for our kind, collaborative humans. So we certainly hope that every meeting that folks have with us, they really actually enjoy it and love the team that they work with. We have an uncanny ability to make things cool. I'll show you how we did that for things like cottage cheese. Not previously cool until now, very cool. And then lastly, we are known for the secret bar in the loading dock of our office. So again, if you are in Chicago, you're gonna wanna come by Thursday nights in the summer. because we have a very good time there. The services that SRW provides are very expansive. So while we only work with brands in the natural wellness and better for you space, what we do for those brands is a whole lot. Everything from brand identity, naming, packaging, logo design, help out at trade shows. I hope we'll get to see some of you at Expo West next week, where we will certainly be posting up websites, strategy, specifically, obviously a lot for social media. We do also run paid media internally, video and photography, and then influencer, very hot topic, and public relations, which we'll chat a little bit about today too. Our clients, if you have ever been to a Whole Foods, you have seen our clients. If you walk down the aisles there, you can't walk down one without running into the clients that SRW works with. So lots of the clients that we've been working with have really grown over time, which has been very exciting for us. And some are really great up and comers that we look forward to making household names as well. So from there, here's what we're going to talk about today: how you can become as big as the brands you just saw there, or if you're already as big as the brands you just saw there, some of the lessons you can take away for your own company too. There's going to be three things. First one is knowing your audience. Second one is defining your channels. And then the third one, I think, is just less often talked about it that it should be, which is don't let the haters get you down. So we'll talk about each of those. And the first one is really in knowing your audience. And I like to start each one with a case study to just give you an example of how important each of these topics is. And no better case study in knowing your audience exists than through our work with Vital Proteins. So SRW, we're a bunch of whole really lucky people. And when we founded our agency 8 years ago, one of our very first clients was Vital Proteins when their company was about 4 people. We were so lucky to be in a WeWork in the heyday of WeWork, when it was very fun and cool to be at WeWork. And we had an office right across the hall from the founder of Vital Proteins. He's a literal genius, rocket scientist, and wanted to talk to people a lot about the science behind the product, and was actually touting a lot about the benefits of healthy aging. So what you can see on the left side is what the website looked like, and how the marketing kind of came to life there versus what it looked like after we went through the audience discovery process. So the Vital Proteins team really understood that there was going to be an opportunity courting millennial consumers. And in order to do that, we wanted to segment those audiences. So we talked to the Vital Proteins team about what their products actually do for them. We learned about who was buying them. We did a competitive audit to understand who was buying their competitors, and then found that white space that Vital Proteins could really fit into. We segmented their audiences into fitness, wellness, and beauty, and then placed small tests, including really small paid social spends, into each of those audiences. If you buy Vital Proteins today, you can probably guess that we saw some really big payoff on some of those audiences, including beauty, which is why you now see Jennifer Aniston as the face of this brand and their chief creative officer. But it all started with just better defining the audience. It all starts there, because once you've identified your core audience, you know how you should be reflecting yourself as a brand. And Lucas will talk to you a lot about how to do that exactly on your website, but this is just one example of how that becomes so important. In addition to that, we then help to make this audience come to life across a first of its kind influencer marketing program, a lifestyle photo shoot, some great display ads, and even developed a lifestyle blog for Vital Proteins, which is called Lively and still exists today. And these things are just really important to bring to life, and they don't have to cost $1 million. You know, this was done with non-union talent, in the backyards of places in Chicago. And it's really just about finding a couple of people that really epitomize that lifestyle and knowing what that lifestyle is that you're trying to bring to life. So that's exactly what we did for Vital Proteins. And how you can yourself go through the process of knowing your audience. Maybe you can work with an agency like SRW who finds that out for you, and maybe you have to figure it out yourself. So a couple of questions that you can ask are, number one, who's buying your products right now? You might have some data around that because you sell online. And so you can have a sense of who's currently buying your products on your D2C site. You might be lucky enough or have enough resources to be able to have something like SPINS data or other retail data that lets you know a little bit more about who's currently buying your products in store. Or you might just be guessing. But what you want to do is have some sense of your current consumer. And then you want to think about who's buying your competitors' products. Some of that you can, again, tell through SPINS data and things like that. Or you can find out by just looking at how they're projecting themselves. Do they seem like they're trying to court a young consumer? Do they seem like they're going after older consumers? Do they seem like they're trying to fit a certain niche? That tells you what's available for you. Another question that we help to understand is what other brands are in the basket of your current consumer. Trying to understand the other products that they need to help them fit this lifestyle can help you identify what's the lifestyle you're trying to fulfill for them. And one of the last questions we love to ask is, what do they care about besides food? We're always so focused on selling ourselves as food companies, but ultimately what we really want to be doing is marketing a lifestyle that these people can really be part of. And that makes us have to ask the question, what do these people care about outside of what goes into their grocery carts? What makes them tick and what moves them? Ultimately, that will help us really get to better know our audience. All right, that's number one. The second one is defining your channels. And we'll give you an example on this one through our clients at Good Culture, who, if you have not had it before, make the best cottage cheese, bar none, in the history of the world. It is super delicious. And for Good Culture, we want to talk about how once you know your audience, you can then define your channels. So today, perhaps you have eaten cottage cheese because someone on TikTok told you to. Perhaps you have made ice cream out of it. Perhaps you have made Alfredo out of it. All of these things happen. You're welcome because of some great early marketing that we did to really embed cottage cheese with the influencer world. So right now you're seeing cottage cheese everywhere. As you can see, it's here on the Today Show, in BuzzFeed, in Better Homes and Gardens, and in the Wall Street Journal. And all of these were media placements that the SRW team worked to secure. And really our job was to take this 80s favorite and help it regain notoriety with Gen Z and with millennials. And so in order to do that, we asked ourselves, who's the best person to do that? Is it Good Culture to just run out there and be like, hey, everybody, cottage cheese is the greatest? Or if you're really trying to make something feel cool and feel viral and feel inspired, should you probably put it in the hand of influencers? So that's exactly what we did. We created an influencer marketing plan for Good Culture, where we started working with a celebrity influencer called Megan Roop. She is basically an influencer among influencers. She's a celebrity fitness instructor. She was just in the news in the past couple of weeks for being Dakota Johnson's trainer. She trains all the Victoria's Secret models, Molly Sims, a whole bunch of different famous people, and everyone follows her, right? Well, we wanted to create a campaign about how cottage cheese actually makes you feel ridiculously good, not just about how good it tastes, because that we know was something we had to inform a lot of people about, but how when you eat it, you actually feel energized and really good. And especially with Good Culture, because they have probiotics in it that actually help your gut health, which ultimately help your mental health and make you feel better overall. So we partnered with Megan Roop, who has a fitness platform that offers the exact same thing. She's all about how fitness makes you feel good. It's not about how you look, it's about how you feel. And so she could really authentically carry this message for us. We co-created some recipes with her. We created a landing page where we hosted a giveaway. We did a free Mother's Day class. And we made sure that Megan Roop was doing the work for us of getting out there and talking to everyone else about cottage cheese. In addition to that, we had a whole bunch of mid-tier and micro influencers. So folks with 100,000 followers or less, and even just 20,000 followers or less, who were out there and just doing the same thing, really talking about how they incorporated cottage cheese into their routines, everything that they loved about it, and how good it made them feel. And ultimately, this returned really great results for us. And the reason that we wanted to do this, and the reason that we really focused on influencer here, was because we thought about our goal and we thought about the audience we were trying to reach. We knew if we wanted to reach millennial and Gen Z women that we needed to do it on social, but we also knew that an influencer doing that on social can be significantly more effective than a brand doing that on social, because every brand thinks they're great, obviously, but an influencer's opinion, especially one that is well trusted by a lot of people for very good reasons, is going to go a lot farther. So for this particular brand, we defined that influencer was going to be a key channel. In addition, in our channel planning, we wanted to bring as many people as possible back to the website, which Lucas will talk about more soon too, for very good reason. We wanted to collect their data. We wanted to get their email addresses. So even though Good Culture is a perishable brand that's not selling cottage cheese on their website did a lot of good for them in this channel plan, because it allowed for us to get more and more information from people so that we could follow up with them via email, send them coupons and things like that. And this was an incredibly successful campaign for Good Culture, as evidenced by the fact that probably many of you ate cottage cheese for the first time in the past year. Another thing that I just wanted to underscore in our note about how much more effective influencer content can be is that when we ran it against owned content that was beautiful and wonderful and follows all our social media best practices, the influencer-led content was twice as effective in terms of video views and view rate when run on Facebook and Instagram. And the reason for that is exactly what we said, which is just that users want to see this content from other users. They want to see it from influencers. They want to see it from folks that they recognize much, much more than they want to see it from the brand. The last thing that I will share, and I hope this one you find interesting, is a lesson in not letting the haters get you down. So at some point, whether you're a small or large company, not everyone's going to think you're the greatest thing in the entire world. Well, sometimes that can actually be an opportunity for you. So if I'll give you a little bit of a story, what happened with our clients at 𝗂𝗏𝘁 was effectively referred to as Operation Toot Talk over here at SRW. So perhaps this will happen to you someday. There was an influencer who went on TikTok and posted about 𝗂𝗏𝘁 cookies making her fart. And not in a way that it was like, oh, I love this, in a way that it was like, don't eat these cookies, they will make you fart. Now, when this happened, our clients were mortified. They called us and asked us, what should we do? This is terrible. In this time, in addition to this original person surpassing some large size views that were definitely in the viral category on TikTok, a second person posted about it and did a react video to what the original poster had done. So these original videos had now gotten millions and millions and millions of views, and everyone was hearing that 𝗂𝗏𝘁, if you eat too many of these cookies, will indeed make you fart. And so we worked with our clients to say, if we can lean into internet culture, we can turn this into something that is actually good for your brand. And what you'll see is the end result is that the president of the company said this created really valuable goodwill for the brand and seems well worth the relatively small investment we made. We'll talk to you about the investment that we did make. So what you see here on the top, and you're welcome to Google this because you will find lots of fun information about it, is the original video from this woman named 𝗟𝗏𝘂 who posted about the cookies. The bottom one was the react video here. These were both extremely popular videos. And so what we decided to do was go ahead and send a thank you care package to this influencer for spreading the word about 𝗂𝗏𝘁. We did everything from, we looked at the comments in the original video and noticed that everybody in the comments was saying how much they loved her video or how much they loved her outfit. And so when she commented back and told them that it was from Charlotte Russe, we went and bought that exact outfit and then branded it with 𝗂𝗏𝘁. We got her a whole bunch of different 𝗂𝗏𝘁 swag. We sent her a whole bunch of different products, but we didn't stop there. We also sent her a tushy bidet, some branded toilet paper, and some air freshener to let her know that while she was enjoying all of the different products, we had her back to make sure she could enjoy them in comfort. And so with that, we saw really good views on her then unboxing video that she got. And what we really love about it is what you see here on the right is all the reactions from her followers saying, this is amazing, best package ever. I love this brand. I'll try them now just because they're so funny. And what we even heard from a quote that 𝗟𝗏𝘂 put in her unboxing video was that this was by far the best and funniest interaction she's ever had with a brand on this app. So we're very proud of that, but I think it's just a good lesson for us all that not all PR is bad. And so if you are getting a bad review or you are getting a bad reaction, a lot of times your tendency will be to go hide under the covers and make it go away. But if you take every opportunity as exactly that, there's always a chance that you can turn something that looks like it's a disaster for your brand into something positive. So that's just kind of the last lesson we wanted to share, because as much as we're going to give you all these like tried and true, know your audience, define your channels, all these things you could read in a business book, another thing we want to share with you as brands is just resilience, because we know it's tough out there. We know it's hard. We know the past couple of years especially have been hard. And we know you're going to face some haters as you're trying to get through your work. So in that, we encourage you not to let those haters get you down, and find your champions and stick with them. So with that, I will hand it over to Lucas, who will talk a lot more about exactly how you can do that through your site.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Awesome. Bring this up here. Perfect. So welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about how food and beverage brands can really get the most out of their website experience and maximize their presence online. Really, the focus for today is to give you a framework on how to think about your website and make it work for you. Brian covered a lot of this, but my name is Lucas. I'm a partner and chief experience officer here at 𝗟𝗏𝘁. I've been here for the last 11 years, originally starting on the design side and then really working with the team to shape how we work together, how we help our clients succeed. 𝗟𝗏𝘁, it really focuses on working with CPG brands to design and build website experiences focused on storytelling, educating customers, and driving engagement. Some of our recent clients are Milton's, Once Upon a Farm, 𝗂𝗶𝘁 𝗏𝗂𝗁, Bobo's, Sweet Lawrence, a lot of the brands that you'll find in the grocery store, just like SRW, really figuring out how to help them tell their stories on their website. So one thing you might be thinking is we don't sell online, so our website isn't a priority. But we like to look at the situation a bit differently. What if your website could help you get to know customers, deepen relationships, and really drive growth across all of your other channels? So in the end, it's this idea that you don't need to sell products online to really have an effective website. Maybe you do want to launch e-commerce, and maybe you sell products online right now, but that doesn't have to be the way that you think about your website. Whether or not you're investing in your website, it can really be a destination for anyone who engages with your brand and is curious to learn more. Whether you realize it or not, people are coming from all of these channels, visiting your website and looking to learn more about your brand. And so in essence, your website can really be that brand's online flagship, and all these channels can drive back. Maybe you have customers in retail that are standing in the aisle looking for information. Maybe you're doing field marketing and people are, coming across your product at events, trying it, and they want to learn more. Subway campaigns, Google search, all of these channels are really driving back to your website and really are opportunities for your customers to find you, learn more, and really deliver on the questions that they have. And so there's 7 questions that every food and beverage brand should answer for their customers. Whether or not they're selling online doesn't matter. All of these questions still become relevant. It's really about providing answers that add value for the customer's experience. So first is, what makes this product different? What are the unique selling propositions of your product and what make it stand out from competitors? How do you source ingredients? More now than ever before, customers are concerned about what goes on and in their body. So they'll be asking things like, what's in this product? What makes it healthier? Why is it better for me? Are those ingredients safe? So if you have a story here to tell, it's important to tell it, because just looking at the nutrition facts or looking at the label aren't always the easiest way for customers to understand that process and what goes into it. Your website is a great opportunity to bring that to life and let customers know what's gone into developing a great product. Recipes. This product looks delicious, but what do I do with it? Maybe there are fun or innovative ways to use your product that might help extend a customer's use. This is also a great opportunity to feature user-generated content. Find out all the ways customers are using your product and showcase those stories. A lot of people are turning to TikTok, for example, to see how people like products or how they're using those products and what they're doing with them. So if you can gather that content, put it on your website, and bring it to life for other customers, you become that destination for your community. Store locator. People might be wondering, can I buy this in my local grocery store? Maybe they discovered the product by a friend, or maybe they bought it on Amazon or another channel, and now they have a dinner party coming up and they need it like tonight, or they need it tomorrow. So they want to know where they can get it fast. So make it easy for people to find your products in stores fast and efficiently so that they can go out and grab it. Maybe you've already sold the customer on the benefits of the product, but now they're wondering, does it taste any good? It's healthier, but is it good? Is it better than, the Oreos that I have in the closet? And so questions like this are a great opportunity to feature customer reviews. People want to hear other people's opinions to gauge if it's right for them. So depending on your product, you can ask reviewers for more details when they review products. Sometimes it could be allergies or health preferences, but not only showcasing those reviews, but showcasing a little bit about the customers who gave those reviews to help connect with other customers and see how they may want to try your product. Brand storytelling. Maybe they've never heard of your brand before, but they discover it on the shelf. So they want to know, is this legit? Can I trust it? Maybe the packaging looks cool, but they want to know, is this something that I can trust compared to what I'm used to. So it could be a decision between you and a brand that has been in the space a lot longer and they know they can trust and they're trying to decide how to take that next step. So your website is an opportunity to talk about that origin story, talk about your mission, talk about your values, and really what makes your brand special, and really show customers what's gone into developing it. And lastly, a product finder. And so different than a store locator, what we're talking about here is helping customers who may struggle with decision paralysis. Maybe it's a lot of different SKUs. Maybe you have a lot of different flavors or formats of how you offer your product. It could be powders versus liquids. And so as much as they want to buy, if they're overwhelmed with options, they may just choose not to move forward at all. And so offering a product finder can really help customers find which option is right for them by sharing their unique preferences, filling out a quiz, and then being given those recommendations to help make that buying process a lot easier. So at the end of the day, if you're not answering these questions, you're really under-delivering for engaged potential customers. And that's the key here is you have people who are engaged and want to become customers. So the way I see it is, a customer might be standing in the grocery store aisle, browsing your website, but they choose to play it safe with a brand that they know versus giving your product a chance. So if they had questions you couldn't answer and they weren't comfortable changing their habits. So what's the opportunity? It's really to use your website as a home base. It's to create a place that can nurture and grow an engaged community of brand advocates. And it all starts with answering that customer's need or question. Let's take a look at that flow. So a customer may visit your website with a question, the 7 questions that we just talked about, and I'm sure there's plenty of other. And the key here is coming to your site and delivering value by answering that question. So whether it's product information, brand storytelling, ingredient sourcing, recipes, store locator, product finder, or other things that are going to add value for your brand in particular, how do you bring those to life on your website? And then once they're there, think about how you can add additional value through incentives. Make them feel good about what they came looking for. So you could roll out a loyalty program. You could have access to exclusive product launches via your email list, or maybe offer coupons that are only available through your website. So if I sign up for your website through your website, maybe I get access to tips and tricks, or maybe even free samples, things that are going to take that relationship to the next level after they've arrived for that specific need. And in doing so, and Kate talked a little bit about this earlier, but offering that incentive opens the door to capture valuable customer information and begin the path of building a meaningful relationship with those folks. So to gain access to the incentive, you can ask customers anything from what's their email address, what's their phone number. Maybe you ask about dietary preferences or even brands that they love. What else is in their basket when they shop? Those are things that would be great to know and really get that data right from the customer. So anything that helps you get to know them better is relevant, and is relevant to your brand's lifestyle is game. While you may get data from third parties about your customers, nothing's like what you can gather directly from customers and can use to continue to grow relationships and influence marketing. So as you build up your subscriber list, you can start to connect with customers on a regular cadence via email, SMS, and now you'll have this qualified group of advocates who really want to be part of your brand's community. So the next question is, what can you really do with that? So your new community of fans will be ready. So maybe you don't offer direct to consumer right now, but once you start selling online, you've got this group of people who are ready and first to know about the launch. Maybe you need feedback from real customers. We often see brands in this space relying on focus groups, trying to reposition the brand or explore a new strategy, and they just don't have the data that they need from real customers, and they don't have the access to a real customer to talk to them. We actually had one client we worked with who was repositioning 2 different brands, and they actually stood in the aisle of grocery stores offering gift cards to interview people about their view on the brand, the category, and it worked. Very successful, but it was quite an effort and quite a big lift for them to do this. So what if you could actually talk to your real customers with ease, learn from them, make those strategic decisions based on people who have actually experienced your brand? And maybe you send out surveys, you actually get on the phone and talk about their experience, but the key is they're there. If you're investing in a marketing campaign, you'll have an engaged audience to activate, making it work that much harder. Promotions are the same, especially during peak periods like the holidays. For some of our clients who have decided to roll out direct to consumer, they use these holiday periods to create special bundles and gift packs that are only available online, creating that kind of experience where you can only get this through the website. You've got to sign up and you can become part of that brand. We've also had some clients expand into new categories, and it's always a risk and a big jump for the brand, but having access to customers who love the brand is a great way to start that introduction. If you're expanding retail footprint and you gather geographical information about your subscribers, you can effectively activate them when you launch in a store that is right near them locally. You can also launch new products and get hype around those launches. It's a great reason to talk to customers and make them feel like they're part of an exclusive group. And lastly, I love this one, experimenting with new flavors. Flavor voting is a popular one on your website. You can ask people to weigh in on what they think the next new flavor should be, or even try out new flavors with a smaller group of people, get feedback before you invest in a much broader launch in retail. So let's look at what this looks like in practice. Once Upon a Farm specializes in organic cold-pressed foods for young children and prioritizes freshness and nutrition without preservatives or artificial ingredients. So they have a mix of veggie blends, smoothies, and meals for toddlers and infants. And a key feature of their website that we build is a product finder that guides parents in finding the right products for their family. And so what's great about this is they can collect data on their customers, but they can also guide them to the right products and make it really easy to shop for their family. Sweet Loren's is known for their clean label, ready to bake cookie dough. They've since expanded into other categories. But what's awesome about this brand is the founder, Lauren Castle. She started the brand after surviving cancer and deciding it would be her mission to eat good, clean foods. And so her story is very much part of the DNA of this brand. And so it was key for us to bring that story to life on the website. And so the website provides direct access to Lauren through an interactive quiz, but also interactive video content that showcases customers' recipes and really inspires customers to figure out other ways to use the product beyond just sticking it in the oven or eating, a tub of cookie dough. And we've seen a lot of success with this since launch, increasing the time that customers spend on site, and also just a lot of increase in traffic through a lot of the content that we've offered through the site. An extension of Patagonia is a brand called Patagonia Provisions, and they champion regenerative organic farming and ethical sourcing. They have a lineup of seafood, crackers, and pastas that are all focused on environmental challenges through the agricultural practices that they follow. And so they've dedicated an entire section of their website to this content, going into depth about sourcing, environmental impact, and mission. And so they know what their audience cares about and they believe in. And so it's important that that comes to life on the site and it's not just assumed. And so you can go pretty deep in understanding what goes into their mission and how that comes to life in their food. Little Mix-Ins focuses on allergy introduction to babies around 6 months old. And it's really that early introduction that can reduce risks of food allergies by 80% in children. I'm actually a new parent and I can attest to how much Little Mix-Ins mission resonates. And so the key here is educating customers on this topic. It can be scary, that can be hard to navigate. And so rather than just trying to sell through their website, it acts as an educational portal for parents to learn more about the topic with in-depth articles, video interviews with experts, and a lot more. And creating all of this content was great to create, the position as a thought leader, but also really helped with driving organic traffic to their website and really give people a place to learn about this topic. And lastly, based in Austin, Texas, is Austin ciders. It's a variety of hard ciders made from apples sourced from Europe and the United States. And they're known for the low-calorie offering compared to many other alcoholic beverages. The cool thing about their website is this robust store locator that we built that helps customers really find not just where people sell or stores sell cider, but whether it's a 6-pack, if it's on draft, or it's cans or 4-pack, really making it easy for customers to find Austin ciders locally and get to those places. Another thing that has been key for them is these hype emails that talk about new flavors. We had a lot of fun creating what you can see here, showcasing all the new flavors. And these emails were just a great way to keep touching base with customers, hype up the new flavors, but also led to a lot of merchandise sales. They don't sell the site or online, but they do sell a lot of merch. And so we saw a lot of traffic coming from these emails to the merch store, and then also to the store locator to see where they could buy those new flavors. So thanks so much for listening. You can learn more about 𝗟𝗲 at 𝗟𝗲𝘁.com. You can join my newsletter where I talk about leadership, life, and e-commerce insights and things like we've talked about today at 𝗟𝗲𝘁.com. And check me out over email if you have any questions, you want to get in touch. My email's right here, but thanks so much.
All right, awesome. We're going to ask Kate to come back on camera here, and we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. I'm going to remind the audience here that, we got two experts, so make sure that you actually ask your questions. But I have a couple that I want to start off with here. And Kate, I think starting for you here, I just want to talk a little bit about, the social media influencers, and maybe when you're deciding to pick an influencer to work with, what are the main attributes you're looking for? Could we maybe go through a couple of best practices on that front, just kind of, part of the selection process and what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we look for our partners is a lot about who's having a moment. So one of the things we really try and do is find influencers before they're completely oversaturated. Sometimes you'll look at an influencer's feed and you'll see every other post. They're posting for everything from dog food to eczema medicine. And you're like, well, I don't know how authentic this really feels. So what we like to try and do is find partners that we feel like are really ones that can authentically resonate and connect with their audiences. And speaking of audiences, that's the most important thing we look for within those influencer profiles. So we're using really simple software to just take a look at those audience demographics of who they're reaching out to and make sure that they have a really high index with our target audience. And that's really, really essential. In addition to that, I think, what we're always looking for and we're big advocates of is that tiered approach, like we talked about with Good Culture. So really having somebody that feels like they can kind of serve as a little bit of a spokesperson or a face of the brand, and then really being supported by a lot more of those kind of micro influencer folks. So I think really audience key, and then also just leveling up that authenticity by making sure they're not totally oversaturated.
And I find that interesting. Are there any ROI standards or any KPIs that you take a look at when you're going through this that say, hey, this was worthwhile? Are there repeat social media influencers that you work with different brands? How does that look like too? Or is it always just, someone completely unique for the brand?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are certainly folks that are in our arsenal that we're like, these people are awesome. Not only are they awesome to work with, but we see that they return really good results for our partners. So Megan Roop is actually one really great example. We've worked with her on a couple of different partners because she's so fantastic. ROI of influencer is like topic du jour for everybody, right? ROI of all marketing, but especially of influencer. And so one of the things we do is we'll always do a recap report for our partners. For our partners that are exceedingly focused on ROI, we do make sure that we have really good tracking, not only with things like custom UTM codes for any of the different, or UTM links for any of the different influencers that we're working with, but certainly promo codes for our clients that are interested in D2C and want to see how many folks are really driving sales. In addition to that, one thing I didn't mention that's really important about influencer is whitelisting. So whitelisting is basically taking that influencer's content and putting paid media budget behind it through your own account. I highly recommend whenever you're working with an influencer partner that you get the whitelisting availability and pay for that, because it allows for your content to go so much farther. And then judging the performance of that media is really essential. So if the goal of our campaign was driving awareness, we're going to report on how efficiently our influencers were able to decrease CPM, get really high impressions. If our goal was driving traffic to the site, we're going to be looking at who did that most effectively, who had the lowest cost per click, who drove the most clicks to the site. And if our goal is conversion, we'll definitely be focused on who drove the most sales on the site as well. And a lot of that we can do when we really increase our whitelisting.
Awesome. I have a few questions for Lucas here, and I think maybe the most simple one would be just what platform do you recommend when you're building a new website? I know I don't want to call out the food industry too much, but I know sometimes some of these platforms are a little bit legacy is maybe the correct way to say it. So I'm wondering, when you try to talk to, a client, what do you recommend as far as a platform goes with a new website?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the long-term goals. For us, what we see most often is actually Shopify, and the reason is when you work with Shopify, you get everything that you want when it comes to being a brand that sells products, right? You get the setup of product pages, all the different product data pieces that you need, and the whole ecosystem of partners, which can help even if you're not doing direct to consumer. So things like reviews and all of those pieces. The key there is, we'll do a site on Shopify and not enable e-commerce. We're doing this right now for a brand in this space. And then when they're ready, they can really just turn it on versus having to redesign the entire site and re-platform. Another popular thing is to actually sell merchandise online and nothing else. And so that it would be our recommendation most of the time. If there's literally no, world in which there's any kind of transaction happening on the website, Webflow would probably be the next best decision there in terms of platform.
And I guess another question too would maybe just be looking at what's a starting budget for a new website. What should people be expecting if they are deciding to, take their existing content and kind of reinvigorate it through a new design?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be quoted on any of this here, but
That's
it
fair.
always depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And I think the key is understanding what makes sense for where you are as a business and what you can invest in if that's not a channel that's driving revenue yet. I would say starting around 40K is probably a good place to just start with, something that is going to get you somewhere better than where you probably are today. There are a lot of different frameworks and ways to get you there quicker that we use for merchants in that situation. But yeah, I would say 40K and up is probably a good place to start.
And just want to remind everybody here, make sure you ask your questions. We got two experts with us on the line answering live, so make sure you throw some questions in there in the Q&A. I do have another question for you, Kate, and I think it's really just a question about, the most important social media channel you're working with today. Is there one specific one that you say is table stakes you need to be on? Does it really depend on the brand? What can you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe is there any one right now that you see has a lot of upside? And I think that might be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. The most important channel for your brand is going to be the most important channel for your audience. And a lot of that comes down to age and how they interact with social media. So for you, if you're trying to court Gen Z, your most important channel is TikTok, hands down. If you're trying to court millennials, that's Instagram. And if you're going after boomers, Facebook is still happening. And so for those, it's really important to consider. And of course, there's audience targeting available on every channel. So if you do want to reach millennials and you're really good at TikTok, then great. And when you're putting out your paid media, you can gatekeep it to make sure that it's reaching your target audience and not skewing too young, because if you don't add that age restriction within your paid media, it is going to go to everyone very young. So just making sure, again, that you have that really strong sense of who your audience is. Any channel can work for you, but think first about the channel that is most important to your audience.
And what about a channel like YouTube? I know right now, right, TikTok, Instagram's got Reels, now we have Shorts on YouTube. Do you see that you often are taking that content and kind of playing it off all of those different social media channels now that they kind of have similar product offerings? Is that a great idea, bad idea? What would you say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. For food brands, YouTube is a great opportunity, especially if you can put your brand in the hands of YouTube creators. Like TikTok, I think YouTube is a platform that works best when you put it in the hands of the creators who really manage that really well. One interesting thing to me about YouTube is it's actually the most important channel for Gen Alpha, which is my kids, because they spend all their time on YouTube. So what's really interesting is that, YouTube Shorts is huge for Gen Alpha. YouTube in general, I mean, it's on every iPad in every school in the country. And so even when parents have their kids off of social media, they're still all on YouTube because they use it at school. So there's a really great opportunity to reach the youngest generation through that platform as well.
And Lucas, I know you're more on the website development side, but do you see any specific, social media channels that really push traffic in different ways when you're taking a look at that inbound traffic on the web analytics side? Is there anything specifically you could share that would say, this is a best practice that would help drive that kind of traffic directly to the website?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, everything Kate said is 100% exactly what I would say in terms of the social side. I think, we talk a lot of times with clients about like building communities and forums, and there's always this desire to create this custom thing. But then you talk to them about, hey, there's Facebook groups that are very active. Reddit is a huge channel where people have, if anybody has any interest and they look on Reddit, there's a whole group of people out there with all the same problems trying to figure this stuff out. And so that's a channel that, understanding if you're if you're especially like an appliance or something like that, where, there's lots of questions, it's a great place to be. The other thing I would say is just really thinking about, Google search and the types of content you're creating on your website, really understanding what keywords are important for your brand and creating content around those keywords is really a big opportunity to bring folks to your website and really help guide them in whatever direction they're looking for. And the last thing I would say about YouTube is one strategy we've seen, and this is from an SEO perspective, is let's say you have recipes on your website with videos, actually reposting those videos and recipes onto YouTube for all the reasons that Kate mentioned, because that's just another place for people to find them through Google search, through YouTube search, and then actually make their way back to your website.
It looks like the audience is done being shy. We got a couple questions coming in, so I'll ask these coming in here. So Parker asks, can you give an example of an important decision a brand made thanks to social listening, and perhaps what that social data was exactly? So I think we can throw that over to Kate.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think Vital Proteins is a really great example in investing in the beauty category. So that was something that, we kind of saw these three different ways in, which were fitness, wellness, and beauty, as equal opportunity. But what we saw was that the beauty category online just absolutely took off. So a conversation around hair, skin, and nails became really huge. I think a lot of what we heard in that was that when it came to collagen, those were the results that people just saw immediately. And so it became a really good way in for the brand. Another really great one was on Simple Mills. Simple Mills was a client where, we had some of our kind of hypotheses around who their audience would be. And again, in your early stages, a lot of that is guesswork. And some of our hypotheses came from just putting the same content out to different audiences through paid social, which at that time was just Facebook, and seeing who really resonated with the content most. And a lot of times we found that mom community was the one that really gravitated towards it. And so we really started to go in that direction. And what was really interesting was that several years later, I actually flew with the Simple Mills team out to Boulder. We did proper focus groups and market research, and we got back pretty much the same information we found out through paid social. So it's really, there's so much you can do leveraging paid social. If you're a smaller brand and you don't have the money to do the big fancy research, you don't really need to. So I think audience testing is one of the best things you can leverage paid social to do.
And that kind of answers Michael's question, who's saying, brand under 5 million in sales and no budget. How should they approach identifying that audience and marketing to them? And I'm wondering if you have anything else there, Kate, and then also Lucas, if there's anything you would want to add to that, we can jump that over to you as soon as Kate's done.
Yeah, I think audience testing in paid social is enormous. And then one of the things that Lucas mentioned too was like in survey. I love survey, using your channels, your social channels to survey your communities. You will not believe the information people will give you for $1 off. It's unreal. So we just put out surveys. They're so simple. You can make them in Survey Gizmo or whatever company bought Survey Gizmo that it is now. And you just offer people $1 off coupon. They will tell you their household income, their education level, the grocery stores they shop at most often. They will tell you everything you want to know. And so just being able to offer those folks a coupon in return, you will be so surprised how much information you could get.
Yeah. And I would say, even if your website isn't where you want it to be, making sure it best represents everything about your brand, and really thinking about if you're doing any of the marketing, if you're spending any money on marketing, it's driving to the right places that you feel confident in on your website. A lot of times what we'll see is even with low budgets, brands are spending money on marketing, but they don't feel good about their website. They're driving traffic to the homepage with no real idea of what the funnel looks like. And so I think combined with the strategy Kate's talking about, really just making sure that you're not that whole time thinking, well, my website doesn't represent who we are, because that's always going to become a kind of sticking point. If you're not seeing the kind of results that you want, there's always this feeling that, you know, the website doesn't represent who we are and, you know, the value props that we have. So I would say really, even if it's just content writing, and the design can't be where it needs to be, you know, finding a way to, in a small way, get that to where you hope it can be.
We have a question from 𝗟𝗲𝘁 who asks, how many people would you say a business needs to make up a healthy social media team, and what positions are necessary? Maybe we could start with Kate, and then I actually can modify that a little bit for Lucas too when you're done, Kate.
Yeah. Ooh, this is highly subjective. Okay. Because to me, I would say 0 and hire an agency. But I know what a lot of other people might think is they really want to build up these teams. What I would say is it depends on what level of priority your social media channels take. It is probably enough to have one person who manages all of your organic social media, without question. That person can be creating content for your different channels. They can make your content calendar. You should not expect that person to understand paid media. You should not expect that person to understand audience strategy. That person is more of a creator, right? You have to let them be creative to know what works on social, run with it. But I think what I see is kind of a pitfall or a mistake that often brands make is they expect that one person to be able to do a job that at an agency is literally 12 different people's jobs, because not one person shouldn't really know and be great at doing all of those different things. So if what you mean is, you know, just managing content, putting it out there, I think one person is great. But certainly you need somebody who can be a creator and be that creative driving force. You need somebody who's a strategist who really understands how to bring it all back to your overall business goals and your brand. And then you need somebody who understands the paid aspect of things. What I see brands do a little bit too much is overemphasize organic social without any paid support behind it. So you're funding like an entire FTE whose whole job is to just be making content that no one's looking at. Ultimately, what would be much better for you is if you put less into that content, posted less frequently, and then took that money that you were putting into creating so much content and boosted your content, put some information or put some dollars behind it so that it actually got to more people as well. So a little bit of an answer to the question, but interested in others' thoughts as well.
And I think we could modify it a little bit for you too, Lucas, because I think a great website usually has updated content, right? You don't want it to stay static. You know, a lot of companies will have a blog or, to your point, a lot of recipes. How many people do you think need to be working on that if they're not going to go to the agency route? And, you know, if they do go to the agency route, what would be the big difference, you know, in kind of having that content developed?
Yeah, I would say it's not different than the sentiment Kate shared. I think for me, oftentimes you do need someone who is keeping things afloat on the brand side. And even if you work with an agency, you need someone who's going to manage the agency, which is always a big piece. And actually like a thing, you know, you got to have somebody who can keep the day-to-day conversations going. And so I would say at least a person. But the one thing I would offer here when we talk about working with agencies, obviously both Kate and I are biased, but the way that we've seen it be very successful in these early stages is actually using an agency to create the role that you need to hire for. And so whether it's on the e-commerce side or the marketing side, using the agency to build the kind of structure and idea of what the responsibilities of somebody on the brand side would actually need to be. So we've helped brands write job descriptions. We've helped them kind of take aspects of what we're doing and build a structure to be able to bring someone in and make them effective. So to Kate's point about, you know, bringing somebody in and having them try to do a million things may not be successful. So if you work with an agency to kind of build that structure, understand where the opportunities are, and then kind of carve out that role and start to train that person, you know, alongside the agency, that can kind of help you get to 1 or 2 people to really be effective in either the e-commerce website management side or marketing.
So I think we have enough time for one more question each, and I'm going to keep it with you, Lucas, to start here. But I'm just wondering if you have any tips you could share for launching e-commerce, since a lot of our members are food brands. You know, they may be thinking about doing some kind of e-commerce or direct-to-consumer, you know, portion of their website. So any tips and tricks you could share on that front, and maybe then we'll throw it over to Kate and talk a little bit on the social side there too.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with first understanding what, you know, may seem obvious, but what is it that you're going to offer through e-commerce, and why would someone buy it directly from you versus other channels? So, you know, like I mentioned earlier, A lot of times it's like exclusive products or different bundle sizes or packages or varieties that you'll only be able to get access to through the website. And so once you really understand that, I think it has a lot to do with what we've talked about today, building that email list, starting to understand your customers as well. Maybe you launch merchandise first as a way to kind of try the direct to consumer channel and really get things kind of going. And then after that, there's a bunch of different ways to think about, if you have an Amazon business, using inserts to start to bring customers over to your channel, and then introduce a subscription where, once you've got them on Amazon, can you get them to come direct to consumer and make it more convenient to subscribe directly from you? And so that's really how I would think about it. And, making sure that there's a reason for the e-commerce channel and there's some sort of benefit to the end customer.
And Kate, I guess one of my main questions too, Instagram launched Shop with Instagram a couple years ago. Is that viable for a food company? Is that something that they should just keep for merch specifically? How do you look at shipping food through social media platforms like that? Is that something companies can actually leverage?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it can actually be helpful if you do have a decent D2C presence on your site, because it's great for discovery. Again, TikTok is now the #1 search engine for Gen Z. And what you'll see a lot of times is that your competitors in the food business will be using sponsored posts in other areas of TikTok and in Instagram. But a lot of times people are going to the shop to discover things. And so having your items be there is just a great way of discoverability. It's not going to drive your business. You're not going to start doing a significant portion of your business through Instagram Shop or TikTok Shop realistically, but having yourself there so that you can be discovered and folks can get that quick information that they want to understand about your products is definitely a best practice as far as keeping your bases covered.
Perfect. And we're running up on the end of the hour here. We're at a Q&A from the audience. I'm out of questions, so I think we're going to put this one to bed here. I want to thank you both for your time today. I want to thank SRW and 𝗟𝗏 for sponsoring this event. Just a quick note for everyone in the audience, we will be sharing a recording of this webinar within the next couple of days, so just keep an eye on your inbox for that. And once again, I want to thank you all for joining us today. We'll catch you next time and have a great rest of your day. So have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.